This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yo, should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan.
Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. This is Comics Today, a show that I clearly occasionally only do now on Wednesday, but we do this show to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day. And as part of that celebration, we typically talk about news and current events related to comics. We talk about what you all may have picked up at your LCS earlier today. And we oftentimes have a guest or two on to help us to make sense of something that is happening in the world of comics and collectibles. And tonight we are going to cover that all. We're going to do it all. We're going to have a guest on, and we're also going to talk about some things that are top of mind for me and might also be top of mind for you. In a moment, I'm going to be going to the chat to see what it is that you all may have picked up at your LCSs earlier today. If you picked up some stuff, I want to know what you picked up. I want to know who your LCS is. If you read something today that is solid, that we should prioritize, I want to know about that. If you picked up a book that is not a new book, but it is a new to you book, we want to live vicariously through you spending money. So make sure you shout that out as well. It has been quite a long time since I've done a live stream. I have missed you all. I will tell you, the things that I've been doing have not been as fun as what we typically do here on the channel. So it is not like I'm all having a world of fun. I am doing the work that has to be done. Let me tell you, if you guys have not checked out a video that I released, I think it was last week. I dropped this video last week. It is the most popular comics of 2023. I want to encourage you guys to check it out. I was able to get some data from these guys right here, comicspriceguide.com. They hooked me up with a full list of the top 100 most searched for comics on their database, and they have a massive database of more than 1.2 million comics. But they pulled down all this data over the course of the year, and they analyzed it, and they figured out what it was that people were actually searching for, what they were looking up prices for, and they gave me that full list. I did a video on the top 10, and then I also hit some highlights from the rest of the list. So if you have not seen that video, I encourage you guys to check it out. Comicspriceguide.com has been a sponsor of the channel for like the last year or so, but I've been using them since around 2017-ish when I came back into the hobby. Fantastic resource. I encourage you guys to check it out. All right. Let me go. Let me do one other quick announcement. Because I know that this is actually something I mentioned in a video that was released yesterday. I want to say I am going to be at Shortbox Live 2024. I've been asked to do a stage presentation at the con. It is going down May 5th, Sunday, May 5th in California. So more than likely what we'll end up doing is basically doing Comics Today on Sunday, live from a con. We did it last year. We'll hopefully do as well this year. So if you happen to be attending this con, I do not think that you're going to miss me. I think there's only one stage. And so if you see me there, I don't think you're going to be able to miss me. But I will tell you, the folks over at Shortbox are giving away, there it is, a con exclusive t-shirt to the first 500 people that register. So if you haven't registered, but you're planning to go, you might as well get a free t-shirt. Which essentially covers, I think, the cost of the ticket, right? By the time you pay for, oftentimes a t-shirt, you're paying $25 or something like that. I think tickets are like $20. So you cannot go wrong with free admission and some apparel to wear. And you get to see me on the live stage talking about something. Who the heck knows what we're going to talk about, because we don't know what's going to be in the news come May, but it will essentially be comics today from that stage. All right, so I wanted to cover off on that stuff. Let me go to the chat. Let me go to the chat to see what you guys may have picked up. There you go. Sad Villainy. How you doing, brother? I saw your comments on the video that you were headed back to Shortbox Live. We had a chance to meet after my stage presentation. I think we were like behind the stage off to the left, I want to say, when we chatted. It was a pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to seeing you again this year at the con. What is that? William says, I got caught up on the first 2 issues of Batman Gargoyles of Gotham. That's what's up. But William, how were they? You read them, but were they good? That is the question. Is it worth the read? My man Bulldog is up in here. How you doing, brother? Spider-Verse #2 picked up a CGC 9.8. Also, Department of Truth #1, CGC 9.8. Again, not new books, but new to him. And we are going to live vicariously through you spending money. I am going to assume that you got good deals on both of those books. I am going to assume that. You don't have to tell us how much. But if it was a good deal, let us know that, because I think that now is a good time to actually buy some comics. I'm scrolling down through the comments here. Trev, the shipping guru, is good to see you, brother. Welcome to the live stream. Philtastic. I have missed you people. Mark, my Canadian brother, is on the list. He said he picked up Holy Roller #3, picked up Ghost Machine #1. This book has been sitting here in the comic book room, I think, for like 2 or 3 weeks. The folks at Skybound sent this over to me. I have not yet read it. It's been here. I've been traveling. Hexagon Bridge #5, New Burn #14, Tenement 8, Eden Frost #2, etc., etc. Dune 12, the new Dune movie. I cannot wait for Dune 2. I cannot wait. Scrolling through the comments here, Silver Age Surfer Comics. I picked up Batman 121, Batman 181. There you go. That's what's up. He says it was a good week. No doubt about it. Scrolling through, what is that? Jorge says, hello from Chicago, brother. You mean cold Chicago. Cold, that's what you mean. Finally got a copy of Ultimate Spider-Man #1. It's hot. Congrats to you for being able to pick that up. Steve White says he is enjoying the new Punisher. Brother, I think I read the first issue and it was not bad. It was not bad. Now, here's the thing. There's so many people out there that have given up on the Punisher because of what went down with Frank Castle, with him going to hell and there now being a new guy that is being called the Punisher. When I read issue 1, he wasn't calling himself the Punisher, but people are so caught up in whatever that they're missing out on some really good stories. And I think that the Punisher is one of those stories. Steve White, if you co-sign that, let me know, brother, in the comments. Trev is on the board. He picked up Power Girl 5, Beast World 5, Thrawn #1. He said, and a stack of $1 books. You cannot go wrong with that. My man, Chuck. It is good to see you. I missed you guys. TS is on the board with Deadpool #1. There you go. Trev is saying Doom rules, no doubt about it. Who is that? Toy Commander was trying to snack some Golden Record reprints, but missed at the last second. The snipe is alive and well. Steve says the Ghost Machine had a ton of variants today. Scrolling through, Holy Roller is hilarious. That was one of the last books that I read halfway through. Was Holy Roller. That was the last one that I read. Captain Comics, how you doing, brother? So on the desk here, I have Ghost Machine, I have Duke, I have Cobra Commander. Got a bunch of copies of Cobra Commander. My favorite might be that cover right there. You can't go wrong with that. Shout out to the folks over at Skybound that hooked me up with a bunch of Cobra Commander, Duke, Transformers, Void Rivals, a lot of their hot titles. I am getting copies of those. And if you are a Patreon member, I'm going to try to push some of that stuff out to you. There's also channel members. I might try to see if I have your information to send that to you guys as well. Steve's on the board. He says, I agree. The new Punisher is well written. TMX, how you doing, brother? I got Fish Flies 2 and 3. TMX, did I see that you were over there cleaning and pressing some early Turtles books? I was scrolling through the Instagram and I want to say I saw that. Wayne, how you doing, brother? Wayne says, Reg, what do you think about the Energon Universe, Transformers, and Duke? Grab Cobra Commander. Haven't read it yet. What I will say to you, brother, is you need to back up. You need to back up. You need to read Void Rivals, because Void Rivals it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable read. I think Transformers is a solid read. Duke and Cobra Commander, I haven't really dug into those yet, but to the point, there we go. My friends over at Nirvana Comics actually sent me, wow, I just noticed that. These came and then I did not touch them. Number 14 of 250. They sent me, there's number 11. They sent me after they were on the show last week, number 69. That did not go the direction that I thought it was going to go. 11, 14, 69. That is not what I was expecting. After they were on the show last week, they sent me a couple of those books to give away. So stay tuned because at least two of those are going to find their way back out into the comic book community. But I would say, Wayne, I think the Energon universe is off to a very good start. The guy behind it, and I can't think of his name, but I can picture his face, the Walking Dead guy. He made a comment around him, I guess, getting the rights to the Transformers was related to something that happened in his childhood where he was expecting a Transformer for Christmas, like a real Transformer, and ended up getting slippers. He got slippers instead. And so he basically made the joke that he created The Walking Dead so he could have enough money in order to get into this new universe. So solid joke. Shout out to him, because this is the first time in my life that I've been able to read Transformers in real time. So I'm rather enjoying that. So scrolling down through the comments, because I am behind, Kojak grabbed Werewolf by Night 32. Fantastic Four 4849, Hero for Hire 1 a few months ago. Also had a Simpsons 1, Futurama 1 signed and scat. Brother, you are spending all the money, and I salute you. You are spending good money at a good time, and I think that there are smoking deals out there. I will tell you that. TMX is following up. He said, yes, sir, 1 through 4 of Turtles, but it's the third print of issue number 1. Doesn't matter. That's what's up. I saw that and I was like, ooh, stop pressing Turtles, says Michael. Scrolling down, Mr. E says, I picked up Superior Spider-Man number 3, Comics Tom, crashed down a Secret Wars graphic novel. That's what's up. Trev, be careful. Trev, don't do it, Trev. I have read Void Rivals. It was good. It was good. They started it off on the right foot, unexpected, at least for me. I guess they teased that the Transformers was gonna be in there. I missed it, probably because I was doing something. But I rather enjoyed that reveal, and I'm enjoying where things are going right now. I don't do the sport, Chuck. Chuck, you know me well enough to know that I don't do the sport, Chuck. You know that. It didn't say that, did it? Well done. I have been gone. Robert Kirkman, thank you. Thank you, brother. Herman, my neighbor, my man. I appreciate you, brother. Sometimes when you are reaching for these random facts, that where you're connecting these dots, sometimes the dots don't get connected all the way. Sometimes the connection is not made, no doubt about it. Scrolling through, I didn't make it out to Nirvana, but we'll head there either tomorrow or Friday after work. That's what's up. Brian's in here. How you doing, brother? It is good to see you. Chris, my man, welcome to the live stream. Virtual Reality Fitness picked up a 9.0 of Avengers issue number 8. That's what's up. Good stuff. Congrats to you, brother. Again, it's awesome when we can live vicariously through other people spending money, right? We have to be able to continue coming together to celebrate these things, even if it's not your jam, somebody else's jam. Celebrate with them and acknowledge what they had to do, probably to make some sacrifices, right, to be able to get this stuff. I picked up Ghost Machine, Superior Spider-Man. There you go. That's what's up. Dan, welcome to the live stream. It is good to see you. Scrolling through the comments here, I may be sort of caught up. All right, it is good to see you people. And again, if you came in a little bit late, I made a few announcements at the beginning. I definitely want to encourage you guys to check out the video that I released last week featuring data from comicspriceguide.com. It was a good video. We looked at the top 100 books that people were searching for over the course of 2023. That includes raw and graded books all in. And then I did a little bit of some highlights from some of the other books outside of the top 10, right? So the full 100, I did some little snippets here and there. There was also a video that was released yesterday in which I counted down the top 10 most purchased books on the Shortbox app. That video was released yesterday. Definitely some insightful stuff there. And if you look at those two lists, they are very different. It is oftentimes different what people are searching for and what people are actively buying. So it's fascinating to actually look at that, not just on the same platform, but across platforms as well. It is really interesting. So two awesome videos. And yes, I am speaking at Shortbox Live on May 7th. I think it is May 5th. May 5th, I will be in California speaking at Shortbox Live. So I encourage you guys to check it out if you happen to be around. All right. I want to have a guest on. So I had somebody reach out to me the other day, and the topic of what this person was working on resonated with me because it is a topic that we talk about all the time on the channel. We talk about it in the comments. We talk about it in DMs on Instagram. We have these conversations a lot about the health and the state of the comic book community. And so when this person reached out to me, they were doing some work in this space. And so I was like, this is a person that I want to have a chat with. I've never met this person before, so I don't know what's going to happen, but it should be interesting. So I want to welcome to the show right now, Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me good? Everything's good?
I almost had to take some Dramamine when I saw you over there moving that camera around behind the scenes.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to get it all situated. Sorry.
Joe, it is nice to make your acquaintance.
Same.
I
feel like I've known you though, because I've been watching you for a while.
Well, that is one of those strange things of the internet, isn't it?
Yeah.
where you watch somebody's content and then you talk to them and you're like, I know you, I know all about you. It's an interesting phenomenon, but it is nice to officially meet you now.
Same to you.
So Joe, you are, and I want to make sure I get this right. You are essentially a filmmaker.
Yes, sir.
And you are a filmmaker that is combining two of his passions, that for documentaries and that of comics. And you are bringing them together in a new documentary that you are calling Surviving Comics. And you are essentially trying to answer the question as to if comic books can survive. Joe, what led you down this path to create this documentary?
So I'll be very humble. I'm going to try and be as humble as possible and honest as possible here. But 2023 was a terrible year for my company, and we were getting very little work. We lost a lot of proposals. It just, for the video industry in general, a lot of production companies were struggling. So instead of just sitting on my butt and crying about it, I decided to make a documentary. And I believe that anytime you're doing something creative, whether it's drawing comic books, whether it's photography, playing a musical instrument, if you're doing something creative, or even just sports, anything. I know you don't do the sport, but you'll start to lose that skill set over time, right? So I was like, all right, well, let's try and make a little short documentary. And my buddy Matt and I, we do this stuff all the time. We do short films together. We just like side stuff, right? And long story short, it turned into this big thing, right? It went from just being maybe a 20-minute little mini documentary that we toss up on some different channels and stuff, to the potential of getting on Netflix or Hulu or Prime. So that is our goal. We have the production, quality. We have the experience. We've done shows for network television. We've done stuff that appeared on Motor Trend Television, CBS Sports. So we've done work, and we know the quality's there. We know that we could tell the story. And it just so happens that I have a very big passion, a lifelong passion for comic books. So that's where we're at. And I remember I was on a plane ride to Long Beach, California. We were in Florida, and I was watching another documentary about comic book shops, and some competitive spirit. I was like, we can make a better one. As much as I liked that one, I was like,
Yeah.
we can do better. And I looked at Matt, and he looked at me, and was like, let's do it. So that's where it started, and here we are now. We're 6 months later, and yeah, it's been
That's
a
awesome.
journey.
What's the name of your production company? I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
So my production company is Driven Films.
Driven Films. That's right. And
Yes.
so you were basically saying things were a little bleak in parts
Yeah.
of 2023. You decided to not be lazy and to try to bring to life these
Yep.
two things. We see occasionally in the news the announcements that comic shops are closing,
Yeah.
and when comic shops close, it sends a ripple through the comic book community. Even if it's not your shop,
Yeah.
some people will take it as a dire warning that the industry itself is failing. So I'll ask you very directly, in your mind, can comic shops survive? And if so, why do you think that? Why do you believe it's possible?
Well, I think just I want to go back to what you said. You said it sends a ripple throughout, and I think the reason why it sends a ripple is because when a Burger King, they just closed like thousands of stores, right? No one cares about Burger King closing because there's thousands and thousands of other fast food restaurants and burger joints and stuff. But there's not a lot of comic book shops.
Mm,
They're even in their heyday, there still weren't a lot of shops because it is a specialized hobby. It's a very we're not a huge like customer base if you
yeah.
really think about it. Even with all the movies, I don't have the exact stats, but the shop owners we've talked to, they haven't said that there was a huge boom. The biggest boom was when Superman died. So basically, I didn't forget the question, but you're
It
asking.
was a question around can they survive? And if so,
Yes.
why do you believe that to
So,
be true?
oh, I'd be giving away the whole ending of the documentary. All right, I'll do it here because I like you. But I personally, well, we'll spin it that way.
Yeah.
Joe Nicolo, the director of the documentary, personally feel they can survive based on what I've learned, and also like kind of what I feel in my heart. Um, I just think that what I've experienced with comic book shops my entire life was that they're not just places I can buy comic books, because I could buy a comic book anywhere, right?
Yep.
You could buy it. The only benefit I think of, let's say if like we were to remove all the other aspects, like you're just buying comic book, that's all you're doing, is that you get to pick out a copy that's maybe in better condition and you get to thumb through it, right? But with the
Mhm.
internet, you could thumb through things too, right? But what for me, comic book shops is an experience where you connect with other people. I'm a very introverted person, and I know that a lot of other comic book fans, like we grew up as kind of nerds and outcasts, right? Like, it wasn't as accepted back. I'm 41, so that'll give you some time. But yeah, it just wasn't accepted. But now you go to these shops and it's like you're with your people,
Yep.
right? You're with your friends, and it's like the same thing for everyone who's into Magic, who's into the Pokemon, who's into Funko Pops. Like there's a community, right? And that's something that would be terrible if we lost that, because everyone's on their phones, everyone's like online and communicating online. And I think if there's one thing we found out through COVID,
Mhm.
I know we should never mention that, but is that like when everyone was at home locked down, like, yeah, we were doing voice chats and stuff, but people were just like striving, or like, they really wanted and they missed that in-person connection.
Yep.
And studies show that people you know, we're social creatures, right? We want to be around other people. And I think that when I'm upset or depressed or having a bad day, like our office is walking distance from a comic shop, which is my local shop. And I'll go there. I'll go there. I'll say, all right, my day is over at the office. I'm having a bad day. I'm going to go to the comic shop and just talk to the owner. Shout out to We Have Issues in Stuart, Florida.
That shop has come up several times in the
Really?
chat over the years. We Have Issues. I've seen
Yeah.
that. I think to the point that you were making there, and I want to tie what you said at the beginning to what you were saying at the end. No one cares about Burger King. No one cares. I didn't even know Burger King had closed, to be honest with you. And I think the reason that I'm taking away from your comment that people that a comic shop closing sends ripples is because of the human connection that a lot of people have in the comic shop. They are invested in going to that shop every week or whatever the frequency is to engage in the hobby that we love. And when you're there, to your point, you are with your people. And it's not like, you know, you can be an introvert and you have something to talk to people about. And I think that, would you agree that that was essentially the connection that you were making there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is it. That's what I think it boils down to. And I think if we were to lose that, and this has come across in a lot of the interviews we've done, is that, you know, if a shop can build a community, like, it would take a lot to take them down. And if they're smart, they'll build a community, right? And it's not just coming in and buy your comic books and talk to the owner. There's a lot more to community than that. There's events. There's like, you know, learn to draw. There's drink and draw. There's like, you know, magic night. I'm gonna tell you, all right, someone's gonna kill me for saying this, but there's a level of nerds, right? And we were talking about, me and the shop owner were talking about, in Magic players, they're at the bottom of the nerd level, right? They're the most nerdy. But I'm gonna tell you, my other passion is Fallout, the video game. So Fallout the Magic is coming out with a Fallout Magic deck. I already pre-ordered the whole thing. I'm like, I'm doing it.
Do you drop a level when you take?
It evens out. It evens out.
We may have to go to the judges on that. But what were you about to say? You're about to make a point.
So I was talking to the Magic players on Magic Night. They were there, and, you know, I was hanging out, and I was like, hey guys, like, can you, like, what is this? What do I need to buy? Oh, you could buy a commander deck, and you could buy the booster pack. And I'm like, all right, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Seeing dollar signs is ringing up. I hear the register sound. But then they're like, we'll teach you how to play. I'm like, oh, awesome. I don't feel like watching a YouTube video. I want someone to teach me to play. And I think that'd be awesome. I think it would be, you know, nice to sit at a table with a bunch of people, or, you know, have some snacks and, you know, spend some time, especially since it's so convenient to go over there. And I think you're not going to get that with the internet, no matter what anyone says. Like, it's not the same.
So for those folks that are coming in a little late, we are sitting down talking with Joe. He is a filmmaker and he's working on a documentary called Surviving Comics. Just having a wonderful conversation. And Joe, I'll just be honest with you, brother. You sit down with them to play Magic and you have the snacks, you are going down a level. I don't care.
Fair enough. I'll go down a level.
As soon as you start to eat the snacks, brother.
It's Fallout. It's Fallout and Diet Coke. All right. It's you mix those two together. When I get off this podcast with you, I'm gonna go home and play Fallout 76.
So one of the things that was in my mind about the ability for a comic shop to survive, I was thinking adaptability and diversification. Those were two big things that jumped out at me. But you hit the third one, which is community. And I saw during the pandemic, comic shops be saved by their customers.
100%.
That would come in and get gift cards and buy a ton of stuff. They would pull up out front and they would just buy the stuff and point through it to the window, because the comic shops were suffering because they could not be open and their community allowed them to survive. If you don't have a community, you will potentially fail, right?
100. Yep, correct.
So, but go ahead, please.
No, you first.
No, I was about to say, I welcome your thoughts on that, but then I also welcome thoughts around adaptability and diversification. I'm curious about whether those two things came up in the many interviews that you've done with comic shop owners.
So I want to answer those, and I want to move away from my opinions, because I'm the director, right? I'm putting together a story, but the people who matter are the people we're interviewing, right? What I think really doesn't matter in the end, right? I have my own opinions on comic books and what the industry, what I've, you know, seen. But what we have learned is that diversification in product is absolutely necessary. Every single successful comic shop that I have visited and interviewed, they're all doing something. They are all doing comic books and something else and something else. There's like, you know, just having a diverse portfolio in investments, right? You would do the same thing. The same thing when you have clients, right? Like for me, our company, you have to have a bunch of clients, right? If you just put all your stock into one thing and that one thing has a bad year or two, you're in trouble. There's a lot of shops that are closing down. In fact, one in my city just closed down for a few reasons, but he just refused to sell anything but comic books. He had maybe, I think, maybe a couple like Funkos or something. Like, I'm talking like maybe a few,
Yeah.
but I don't remember seeing anything. It was just comics and supplies.
Yeah.
And you can't attract a wide customer base, a consistent customer base that way. Because I can tell you right now, we have issues. Very diverse shop, very small shop, tiny shop, really small. But he's got statues, Funkos, Magic, One Piece, tons of manga. He's got, I said Funkos, I think, and obviously comics. He's got Pokemon cards. And sometimes you see the people who are coming by. I already know this for a fact. Is like one fella comes by and buys Pokemon cards primarily, but he also buys comics. And he had, I talked to him all the time, and really awesome guy named Drew, and he said that he had no like interest in comics until he came into the shop to buy Pokemon cards. And guess what? There is a Pokemon store, card store, like half a mile down the road, and guess where he comes instead to buy his stuff?
Really?
To the comic shop, because there's so much more to it, and like I could also tell you that going back to the diversification of your product offering, St. Mark's Comics, they have toys, they have comics, they also rotate their inventory displays out. Like, just there's an art to retail, and I'm not going to pretend to know about it, because I'll tell you what, I wanted to open a comic shop before I started filming this documentary. At this point, I don't want to, and it's not because I think it'd be a bad idea. It's because it's a lot more work than I thought it would be.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'd be a dealer. I'd be a dealer before I own a comic shop.
Yes.
To
even
me,
that,
even
that
that's a little bit more fun, right? For me, the guys that run the comic shop, the gals that run the comic shop, I applaud them. And I think that we absolutely need them around for many reasons. You've spoken to a lot of comic shop owners. I am curious whether through those conversations, if they expressed any concerns about the future.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Every single one of them said something. And I don't want to like, I know there's a lot. And a lot of people come on our Facebook, they see our ads and stuff, and they're like, for the crowdfunding campaign, and they're like, oh, well, it's this, it's that, it's woke, it's all the woke stuff. It's not just that. Yeah. It could be a contributing factor. I'm not going to say whether it is or whether it's not. There's a lot that are making comic book shops fail. And it's not just one thing. One comic shop might close because they can't afford to pay the rent. Well, why can't they afford to pay the rent? It could also be bad business practices. Yep. Right. It could also be that they don't have the right market. Maybe they opened up in the wrong city, right? Yep. Maybe they opened up in an area that's very predominantly senior citizen based, right? Bad idea. Yep. There's conflicts with partnerships, but there are things like what's going on with the CGC scandal right now. That's like taking a hit on stores that sell almost only slabs or predominantly slabs. A lot of other things. I mean, there's so much to it, but we haven't interviewed a shop owner who's had to close down yet. We are actively searching. We've been trying. It's very hard to find a shop owner who's closed their shop, and it's also like it's tough because they're sensitive to what happened. But we are actively working on securing some interviews, and we want to get their story too, but we also want to get the other side too. We want to get the side of like dealers. We want to get the side of collectors. We want to talk to people within that work for the publishers. But yeah, and then the big thing is, unfortunately, that everyone has said that Marvel and DC are not listening to what they have to say. They're not communicating like they used to. One of the biggest statements was that, and it's not in the trailer, but there was someone at DC Comics who in the 80s would basically personally, she was a higher up, she would personally call the shops and ask them, what do you think about what's going on? It's before the internet, right? Really? What do you think about like what we're doing? Like, what do you think about what DC Comics is putting out? And shop owners would give them their feedback, right? And there isn't that anymore. It's all about just filling the investors' pockets. Like, that's what we've learned.
Yeah, that was one of the comments that I heard in the trailer that kind of jumped out at me.
Yeah,
I think the statement was Marvel and DC don't care. It's about putting money in the pockets of shareholders.
yeah,
So it is fascinating because it seems like that they're not listening to anybody.
no,
Because if you
yeah,
listen to comic book fans, they are saying many of these stories are not for me. If they're not reaching out to comic shop owners to ask, hey, what's resonating? The
yeah.
question is, what is informing the decisions that they're making? I
Yep.
don't know what that is, right?
Well,
Because your
it's
customer is
money,
saying,
money. It's because
but
they're making money hand over foot, right? Because the publishers are still DC and Marvel and even Image and stuff. They're still making money because they're pumping out 15 variants, for a book plus a foil, which they're screwing comic book shops over. By the
yeah,
way, like they're not giving them the discount that they used to a couple months ago or whatever. So right now, like they're pumping so many variants out there, so many exclusives, and then you have the online sellers getting exclusives, and I buy them too, right? You have customers, right, who want these variants. So there are shops that are, ordering X amount of books, and I'm not even talking ratios, by the way. We're talking just variants, right? So they're ordering books, right? So instead of me ordering, you know, 15 buying 15 different titles this week. I'm like, oh crap, there's a Ghost Machine foil,
yeah,
and I want that because it looks cool. Or oh my gosh, there's a Cobra Commander foil. Well,
yeah,
I'm literally stating, oh look, another printing of Transformers #1 and Void Rivals #1. Like, oh, I want this to complete my collection because I have FOMO now. So what's happening is the publishers are creating like manufactured FOMO.
yeah.
And it's like, but they're shooting themselves in the foot, I think, personally, and that's what we've also. I said I wouldn't say personal opinions, but it's yeah. There's just so many things,
it,
Reg.
it, it
It's
it'll
so
be
much.
it'll be interesting, brother, whether you are able to get some of the
Yeah,
publishers to come on camera and to talk about
yeah,
this and to talk about what they view as success, to talk about where they're getting their insights as to what
yeah,
it is that they bring to the market, because I've never heard of Marvel or DC doing any kind of market research of comic book fans. Like, as a marketer, that's the kind of stuff that I do. I find my customer
yeah,
and I sit them in a
yep.
room and I ask them lots of questions.
Of
And then I
course.
try to deliver my product in a way that will resonate with them. There seems to be a mismatch between, to some degree, between what consumers want, what shops want, and what's being offered by the publishers. So it'll be fascinating if you're able to actually
Yeah,
sit down and to have a conversation. One thing that I want to ask you about when it comes to fears, and I want to see whether this
yeah.
came up during your conversations. There's many fears that readily come to my mind that circulate around the internet, but one big one is the notion that children, young adults, whatever you want to call them, don't read comics.
Mm.
Did that come up during the interviews that you've had for your documentary, Surviving Comics?
This is gonna probably surprise a lot of people, and this was a question that I had at the top of our questions documents for every single shop, and we did our research and like the team, we all assumed that children aren't buying comic books like because they're on their phones and stuff. But according to the shops we've interviewed, and I will say we've interviewed some shop owners who've been around for like decades. We're not talking a shop that's been around for 5 years. We're talking like a shop that's been in New York City for 30 plus years, St.
Mm,
Mark's Comics. We're talking A&M Comics, the oldest comic book shop in Florida. We're also talking Dr. No's Comics, another industry veteran who's been around a long time. And the question was, are kids buying comic books? Also, I asked the owner, I asked every single owner this, and it's surprising. They say, you know what? Like, there were never kids buying comic books a lot. They weren't coming into the stores even in the 80s because kids, myself included, were getting our comics off the racks, the spindles
mm,
at the drugstore, I don't remember like ever getting comics at Target. I remember getting a lot of comics at Toys R Us,
I
like those
remember that.
packs, the packets, like Spawn.
Uh-huh.
I got tons of Spawn, tons of Superman. Like they were just bundles, right? And they were just like cellophane together. It was like just like you'd get like 8 comics for like $5 or something like that. It was nuts. And I would get my comics from a baseball card store. And then we started moving into comic book stores. Like that's when my dad started taking me. But kids, from what we've found, kids are buying comic books just as much as they used to,
Okay.
from what we've been told.
Interesting. Because what people do is, as adults, we go into comic shops and we say we don't see kids. Therefore,
Yeah.
kids don't buy comics. We know
Yeah.
kids are always on their iPads and their phones. Therefore,
Yeah.
we assume they
Yeah.
don't buy or read comics. What I'm hearing from you, based upon the interviews that you've done with these shop owners that have been around for a while, it's roughly the same. The
Yeah.
readership with children is roughly the same. That's what I just heard.
And I will say that it is a small sample size.
Yes.
We're talking, we've interviewed 6 shops. So that's 6 out of how many, 1,000 or, shops. But I will also say that the shops that did say that, they also know how to position their products to children. They have children's books. They have Dogman books.
Which
Apparently,
sells like
yes,
crazy.
yes, Dogman sells insane,
Eight
insane. Yes,
million copies of
and
Dogman,
it reads like a comic book.
and it's awesome. I consider
Yeah,
that a comic. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
me
They're
too. I
great.
didn't want to say. I didn't want to get flamed. It's like
No,
being careful.
I believe that
Yeah,
Dogman is a comic, and the
yeah,
challenge is that Scholastics offers up Dogman, DC, and Marvel directly to schools, so
yeah,
that again, people's perception of something doesn't always match the facts because
yeah,
you get a blue car. Now all of a sudden you see the blue car everywhere. You
yeah,
don't see all the other cars, right?
yeah.
You're
True.
focusing on the blue car. Children, in my opinion, do access comics.
They do.
Dogman is a comic. It's
Hmm.
not Batman or Superman or Spider-Man, but it's still a comic. It still counts. It's still a gateway
Yeah.
drug, hopefully.
Yes, yes. I was about to say Gateway, and that's exactly how my son,
Yep.
aside from him seeing his dad buying comics, but that's how my son got into comics. And my son, he's 9, and he will not buy any new comics. We go to the comic shop, and he's like straight to the back issues. He
That's what's up.
likes 80s and early 90s Spider-Man,
That's what's
or
up.
like Hulk or something like that.
Yeah.
He won't go for any new stuff, and I'm kind of glad, in a way, because maybe I think the stories might have been a little bit more kid friendly. Obviously, there's kid books and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
things like, it's okay for him to read that stuff, and he's starting to draw. So it's beautiful about that is like now he's starting to do what I did, right? And like
Yeah.
look at the comics and copy them and draw. And it's like teaching him a lot. It's taught him how to read. He's like, "Well, Dad, what is this word?" Like this was a couple years ago now. And he's like, "Dad, what is this word?" But he started with Dogman. That's what got him into this, like reading pictures with words.
Yep.
Yep. And
It's
that's yeah.
it's all comics, brother. It's all comics in my mind. So for those folks that are coming in a little late, I am talking with Joe, who is the filmmaker that is working on a documentary called Surviving Comics. So to that point, Joe, where are you right now with the documentary? Because you mentioned that you guys have done about 20 minutes or so. You've done like half a dozen interviews. Where are you
Yeah.
with the full length documentary that you're trying to produce?
So we have captured a lot of footage, probably about a total of maybe 15 hours worth of footage, including interviews. We've got a lot so far, and that's only 6. So, but I would say we're about maybe 30% done.
Okay.
And because we want to tell the whole story, and you can't tell the whole story with just going to some shops in New York, Florida, and Georgia.
Yep.
There's so much more to it. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to speak to some collectors, fans. Like we're going to try and go to the conventions. We're probably going to go to MegaCon as long as we don't have a gig. We're going to try really hard to talk to some people who are like, publishers or former publishers.
Yep.
It doesn't have to necessarily be someone who's in the industry, working for them now. We would absolutely love to talk to some creators. I have like a dream list of some creators that I would love to sit down and interview. And I'm going to hold those close to the chest for now. But I think there's definitely something. And I think a big name would help, drive this further. Yep. So we're definitely working on that. We're working on a lot. It's so I would say we're about 20% there, and we're targeting winter, basically Q4 of this year, and with a backup date of Q1 of next year.
Those were some of the questions I had in the back of my mind as the timing
Yeah.
for your release. But I know you all recently kicked off an Indiegogo campaign as well to
Yes, sir.
basically raise funds to
Yeah.
get the other, 70 to 80% of the documentary done. What
Yes.
will those funds be used for?
So we're basically volunteering in terms of the crew, right? So we have my co-director Danny, we have another cinematographer Loxley, another cinematographer Matt. So we've got a pretty decent team. There's also I think 3 or 4 other fellas who've donated their time, but unfortunately, gas stations don't donate gas and hotels don't donate rooms. So we have to cover our travel expenses. We definitely are being very frugal about how we spend our money. We're driving to wherever we can. As a matter of fact, we did in New York and Atlanta,
Oof.
basically we drive so much in this industry, but we did Atlanta basically we piggybacked off of a client job. We
There you
basically
go.
asked the client, hey, can you book an extra day for us?
Yep. Yep.
Right. Same thing with New York. We booked I used some hotel points actually for that, but I was already in New York
Yep.
for a job, right? So we scheduled around that. But moving forward, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that. We want to be able to take our time. We want to go to California. We have so many recommendations of shops, and we've talked to so many shops. They're like, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Can you get me in this? I want to appear in the documentary. So our funds will be used for that. We also are going to be using the funds for perk fulfillment. So when, if you contribute, you get some cool perks, which we've got up on the Indiegogo. We are going to have to, of course, pay for music that we use. There's some other stuff. We do want to try and raise enough money just in case we have legal fees. We don't foresee that based on our research, but you never know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and then we have a full breakdown on the Indiegogo of how we're going to use the money, but it's primarily travel and production.
There you go, which is all very expensive. So, Joe,
Yeah.
The last question I have for you is where can people get a hold of you on social media? I will put links down in the description, but I
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to give you an opportunity to verbalize it.
So you could find Surviving Comics on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Surviving Comics, all one word. And our website is survivingcomics.com. And of course, the main place to find us is on the Indiegogo at the moment.
There we go. Joe, I want to thank you for coming on, brother. I like what you all are doing with the documentary. And after the
Thank you so
show
much.
wraps up, I'm going to be making a donation. I need some swag or something.
Oh.
So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out tonight. But I think you
Thank you
guys are
so
doing
much.
some good work. I think if we can continue raising the profile of comic shops, driving awareness of comic shops, yes, they are here. Yes, they are doing well. Yes, you should check them out. Yes, kids do read comics. I think that we'll all be all the better for it. So, Joe, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the audience for watching and taking part in the chat and everything. I really appreciate it immensely.
There we go. Our pleasure, brother. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, so that was Joe. He is the director, the filmmaker behind Surviving Comics, a documentary. He reached out to me, and I can tell you a lot of people reach out to me trying to come on the show, and I tell the vast majority of them no, just because of how they approach it. But how Joe handled it and the what he is trying to do resonated with me, and it made sense to have him on the show. And I'm thankful that he was able to join me. I encourage you guys to support the documentary. If you feel it, that this is something that you want to contribute to, I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. All right. Who is that? Chris says he is doing the Lord's work. That's what's up. Again, so people reach out. You never know how people are going to show up, right? You never know, but consistently, we have guests on this show that deliver, that make for interesting conversations. They bring an interesting perspective. I am thankful that we had that kind of success in 23, and fingers crossed we can continue having that type of success in 24. And I think we are off to a pretty good start. So again, shout out to him. Thank you guys for the kind words regarding the interview. Again, the guests are the ones that make the magic happen. So let's talk about this real quick. I am interested in you all's opinion on this one. I'm interested in your opinion on this one. Deadline and a ton of other people covered this story earlier today that Deadpool 3 has essentially wrapped up filming. And Ryan Reynolds put up on social media a crotch shot, but it was a crotch shot of him basically saying that Deadpool 3 has wrapped up, right? And they are super excited to bring the movie out. So after resuming production post-actor strike in November, Marvel Studios' Deadpool 3 has wrapped up per its leading man, Ryan Reynolds. There's a little bit of a quote here, which is not that important. He says, "I got to make a movie with my closest pals, and that doesn't happen very often. See ya July 26th." So what's crazy is that Deadpool 3 was originally discussed back in, I think it was 2016. I think it was 2016, back when Fox still owned the IP. It was put on the back shelf and then transferred, the IP that is transferred over to Disney in 2019. Lots of discussion, 2019, 2020, 2021, pandemic hit, all that kind of stuff. They started to get things back on track. I want to say in 2023, they started to film in like May and then shut down in July because of the actor strike. They opened back up in November and then just wrapped up within the last couple of days. So this movie has definitely been on a long trajectory. And I am curious. I am honestly curious about this, whether you all think that Deadpool has the potential to invigorate the MCU again, whether it has the potential to get people excited about superhero films again. I think I know the answer to it, but I want to throw it out there. And who is that? Steve White said, "I can't wait." He says, "I can't wait." Chris Bigger says, "Bank." Let me see. "I can't wait to see it. Never heard so much crazy news about the production of a movie." Ryan Reynolds made a couple of comments about this. His comment, one of the comments I read was, "We are doing this movie for the fans, and we want fans to be excited about it and to see it in the theaters and see the reveal." Basically, don't spoil it. Don't leak stuff about this movie. Let fans come to the theaters and enjoy it. Because again, you guys know this, so much comes out before a movie is even released where you're like, you already know what's going to happen before it even happens. So a lot has come out. And the question is it accurate? Is it accurate? That is one of the things. I'll be going to see DP3. How many more times are we going to be able to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? Very good question, no doubt about it. I'm looking through some of the, for sure it will invigorate things. Not till they fire Bob Iger and Kevin Feige. I don't think it will, says Trev. Scrolling through. No, I don't want to see Deadpool 3 or Deadpool. Excitement for DP doesn't not transfer into other garbage coming out. Thor song. Come on, brother. Scrolling through the comments here. I think it will appeal more to Deadpool and MCU fans than bring a new wave of superhero movie watchers. I can see DP3 opening the door to more MCU movie franchises for sure. Film wrapped up on DP3. Thank God. Hey, no, he said July. He said July, brother. And then I think it was the director says post-production starts in the morning. That was basically what he said. We just wrapped up filming. Post-production starts tomorrow. So it seems like they are going to try to deliver this this movie as projected. I want to see a saber-tooth Wolverine fight forever. Chris Bigger on the board. All right. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this movie performs and whether it actually does reinvigorate things. I think people are going to be excited for Deadpool. I think that it could set up the MCU, but the MCU itself needs to improve the quality of what they are doing. The potential is there, but it becomes a question of what is the follow-on movie that comes out after, and is the quality there? Because Deadpool has a tremendous amount of potential. Fingers crossed that they deliver on the movie and then deliver on the movies that come after. They've had a heck of a break, and I've said this before. The strike may have actually been a good thing for Marvel because it gives them an opportunity to reset, to evaluate, hopefully to make some improvements, some necessary improvements to things. So let me see how we're doing on time. All right. So one other thing, well, I have two other things I want to cover off on. One of them is this right here. Aquaman 2 sets a major record for the DCEU despite box office struggles. Says, while nowhere near as successful as its predecessor, Aquaman the Lost Kingdom floats above all other DCEU sequels as it sets a new box office record. Per Screen Rant, The Lost Kingdom has now earned close to $115 million domestically since its holiday release, grossing twice as much in North America as any other DCEU follow-up. It says the next closest was Shazam, Fury of the Gods, which earned 57.6 million domestically. Overall, the Aquaman movie, the sequel, has earned, where's my screen go? $400 million. That's essentially how much this movie has earned thus far. $400 million. And I do believe that based upon those numbers, there are some people out there saying now that this movie has essentially broken even. When you look at the math, international, what has to go to the theaters, they are saying it is very close, if not there, with breaking even, which at this point in time might actually be the best that people can hope for, is a break even. The movie still has some legs because it's going to be released digitally. There'll be some money released there. It'll be on streaming platforms. There will be some money that is actually made there. But at this point in time, to at least be able to end your theatrical run with a break even, I think you got to call that a win, especially if you think back to the Amber Heard stuff and all the reshoots that were happening. This movie was supposed to be dead on arrival. It was supposed to be dead on arrival. The saving grace in many ways for this movie has been the international box office. The vast majority of its money has actually come from the international box office, roughly 300 million, roughly 300 million of its 280 million, roughly 280 million of its 398 million came from international markets, where it actually was released earlier than in the US. So interesting stuff there. I wanted to make sure that I saved that for you guys. You have not lied about that. Winter Soldier was indeed good. I actually enjoyed that. Aquaman 4, thank God for China. Let me see, I'm scrolling through. If the film avoids all that mush PC stuff, it will probably a monster box office. After Endgame, all Marvel movies have been kind of flopping. Well, so let's factor that in, right? It took 10 years to build up to Endgame, right? Part 1 took 10 years to build up to Endgame. Part of it is you also had just a massive dump of movies that were really designed just to get money, right? Disney was like, we have a captive audience in the pandemic. We just gonna push out a lot of stuff. And that's basically what they did, right? They acknowledged that there's some other quality issues that were going on, some agendas that were being infused in there. But I will tell you, I personally believe that there are actually a couple of movies and TV shows that have come out post Endgame that were not bad. I honestly believe that there are a couple out there. The Werewolf by Night, I thought was pretty solid. Moon Knight, I thought was pretty solid. Black Panther, I rather enjoyed that, right? There are a couple. Guardians of the Galaxy made, what was it, almost $900 million. So people want to paint with this broad brush of everything that came out after Endgame was trash. That's not actually true when you take a moment and you're honest about what has come out. It's not everything, right? And let's be even more honest. Disney, when it comes to the Marvel movies, is essentially competing with itself. It's competing with itself. It's not really competing with much else out there, as it is, I think, the most successful movie franchise in history. It's competing with itself. So yeah, I mean, and there's also other factors at play. We've spoken about this at length on the channel. Again, none of this is to make an excuse for the lack of quality that we have seen with MCU movies. There is a lack of quality. Let's be completely honest about that. I have to end on that point because people will often try to come back and take my comments slightly out of context. So I wanted to make sure I ended on that note. One other thing I want to ask you guys, and this is really for some of the DC people out there. I am curious what you all think about this. Chris Bigger, I'm looking at you. I released a video, the most purchased comics, specifically the top 10 most purchased comics on the Shortbox app. Somebody left this comment. They said Marvel dominated this list. I would say that will change once James Gunn's universe gets rolling, but Marvel will be king for the foreseeable future. I have some serious doubts about that. I have some serious doubts about James Gunn, his work, being able to make DC Comics compete with Marvel. I struggle with that. I would like to see it happen, but I struggle with the notion that will occur. And part of the reason why I struggle with that is the way that the comic book community is receiving things right now isn't very favorable. And it gives me pause that the tide will be turned suddenly in favor of DC, and people are going to rush out and start buying DC comics over Marvel comics. We've never really seen that. Not in recent, decades have we seen that? Every hot list that you see that comes out is dominated by Marvel. I would love to see DC do more, but I don't know that the DCU or DCU is going to do that in the environment that we're in now, in terms of tone of the people, the collectors, and the economy. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. DC has character problems. Yeah, I mean, I hope, I welcome doing a top 10 list where we have more representation of DC, Image, and maybe some indie comics. I do a lot of top 10 lists, and I will tell you, and when I look at them, it's like, okay, well, which Marvel books are going to be in the number one position? Where are the Marvel books going to fall on the list this month, right? It's mostly Marvel. I think healthy competition is good. I think it's good. And I think our last guest, our only guest tonight, Joe, hit on something. If DC was reaching out to comic shops before to ask their opinion of the stories that they were writing, and they aren't doing that now, they aren't getting feedback directly from customers, maybe they should. Maybe that's how the tide actually gets turned, is to talk to comic book collectors and readers. The challenge there is would our tone and tenor actually give them good advice? That would be one of the big questions. I don't know. So I throw this stuff out there for consideration. If you guys are feeling frisky, I threw out a bunch of stuff at the end of this. If you are feeling frisky, I encourage you guys to post up a comment when this video goes live. And let's maybe continue the dialogue. If I see a robust conversation there, maybe I'll give away a book. Maybe I'll give away a book or a bundle of books. Shout out Nirvana Comics for hooking me up with their exclusive Duke issue #1, Nirvana Comics in Knoxville. I'll be sending out maybe issue number 69. Somebody will get issue number 69 out of 250. But again, if you guys are feeling frisky, post up the comments. It is good to be back with you guys. I have not done a live stream. It seems like in forever. But I enjoy interacting with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I definitely want to encourage you to give the video a thumbs up. If you want to reach out to me, you can always do that on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms of pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations. You gliding, we waiting. Indian style in the gold temple of greatness. When you follow the North Star, you coming for the education. This is my audio book. These rhymes are just the imagery. More like an audiographic novel or a memoir about a young MC making timeless music with his mentor. I pray I grasp my letters. Nothing was meant to last forever.